I'm going to talk about hormones today. What are hormones? How do they affect us? And how are they specifically relevant to what we're trying to do with this program? So, hormone is basically a chemical messenger that are secreted directly into the blood. They're carried to the organs, various tissues in the body, and they exert different functions upon them. They're relevant because they have a whole host of implications. They have influences on development and growth, metabolism, food digestion, reproductive growth and health, cognitive function and mood, as well as things like management of body temperature and thirst, and the aspects that we're, of course, particularly concerned with here: health, fitness, well-being, management of things like fat loss or fat gain, muscle loss, muscle gain, and of course the mental things as well: stress management, mental health and well-being as well. So we want to make sure we're aware of the hormones involved, and also particularly how we can influence their secretion and the effect they're having on us to ensure that we gain positively from them and we're maximizing opportunity for health, fitness, and well-being. So first, the most obvious hormones that we think of are the masculine and the feminine, the male and female hormones, because they are the ones that really define the difference between males and females, of course, which does, of course, mean that we shouldn't all be doing the same thing. We shouldn't be doing all the same training. They're going to have different effects on our metabolism at different times of the month. So let's look at the male hormone, testosterone. Testosterone, predominantly, we think about it as a muscle builder, but it has so many other implications as well. So testosterone is a good thing. We want to make sure we're maximizing it. Yes, we talk about muscle building, and we know muscle building is good. Keeps us strong, protects our joints, increases our active muscle tissue, which then raises our basal metabolism, and all of these things. But what we want to make sure is also that it's helping with our mental well-being. So clear thinking, if we've got optimized testosterone, provides energy, strong bones, all of these things as well. Now, bear in mind, none of us are getting any younger, so this testosterone does decrease over time. So we want to be making sure that we're making the most of it and maximizing our potential to optimize our testosterone and making sure it doesn't decrease and affect us. Because low testosterone, it has a number of negative implications. Mental fogginess, we don't feel like we're able to manage our cognitive function properly. We're tired. We get things like depression and mental health concerns. Low testosterone, of course, means we're increasing things like belly fat, fat around the middle. Sex drive is affected as well, and things like osteoporosis is increased the chances of, and we can't develop as much muscle. So not a good thing. We want to make sure we're maximizing and optimizing that testosterone. Females, they don't produce as much testosterone, which is why we don't bulk up. Main female hormones are estrogen and progesterone. We want to make sure that balance is optimal. We don't want manifestations because things like estrogen deficiency, if we have too little of it, we have things like hot flushes, sweats, foggy thinking again, poor memory, tired, depression elements, sleep problems. Equally, too much, we have mood swings, tenderness, soreness throughout the body, water retention, nervousness, irritability, anxiousness, all of these elements as well. That goes to estrogen and progesterone. And females as well, things like irregular periods, not good. It's a sign of non-optimized health. So we want to make sure we're managing that as well. Migraines is a big one for females as well. I'll talk about a bit more how we can manage that later on. Now, stress hormones. Let's look at two major ones we're considering. We've heard of these, probably adrenaline. So adrenaline increases our heart rate, elevates our blood pressure, boosts our energy supply. Cortisol, this increases our blood glucose, enhances your brain's use of glucose, and increases the availability of substances that repair tissue. Both are good, yeah. Now bear in mind, all hormones are not good or bad. They do good things, they do bad things in different quantities. So we want them to be here in the middle, so they're optimizing what they're doing. They're not having a negative effect either way. Adrenaline, cortisol, they're good. They give us a little kick and a boost. Cortisol, for example, wakes us up first thing in the morning. We get that nice peak. It means we wake up, we're alert, and we get going for the day. If it's too high for too long, we start looking at things like fat gain, increased stress, muscle deterioration, these sort of things as well. Equally with adrenaline, yeah, we like it. It's that fight or flight, that primeval instinct where we had to, back in the day, run away from things or try and catch or hunt things. We don't quite have that extreme situation now, but at certain times we need that boost. It gets us going, even in things like the workplace or our sport exercise. We don't want it to be here 24 hours a day, though. We have things like adrenal issues, hypertension, high blood pressure, and then we get other challenges with cardiovascular issues. So we want to be very careful that this is managed effectively to make sure we're not causing longer term damage and that sort of thing. The problem is, yeah, this natural stress response, it goes wild. So we constantly feel like we're stressed and we're angsty, and we get all sorts of long-term issues. So we want to be able to manage those effectively. Weight gain is a big one, of course. Growth hormones. Now, these are produced by our brain's pituitary glands. They govern things like height, bone length, muscle growth. So particularly important in our initial development when we're embryo, fetus, child, up to that adult stage as well. And things like muscle growth and that sort of thing as well. Got to be careful though, because we can end up with things like growth hormone deficiency. This is not optimal because it means we have things like poor bone mineral density, reduced muscle mass, fatigue, depression, poor memory, and things like increased fat as well. So growth hormone is still used. We still need it once we've developed to adult phases. We want to maintain muscle mass, bone density, basic bodily functions as well. So we've got to be careful that we're not putting ourselves in a position where that growth hormone is diminished. Sleep hormones, big one this, because do we get enough sleep? Have a look at my sleep section of the portal, where I talk a bit more about sleep management, more effective sleep, the importance of sleep and how you can get more of it. Now, melatonin is our sleep hormone. It's produced in the pineal gland in the brain, and it tells us that we are tired and we should go to bed. Melatonin levels vary throughout the day. Light is the predominant, as it comes in, is the predominant stimulant of melatonin as well. So throughout the day, lots of light, lots of blue light comes in, melatonin levels are suppressed. As it gets darker, sun goes away, what happens is the melatonin levels rise, and we go to sleep. Problem is, this is because of our 24-hour lifestyles, our phones, our bright lights, and this sort of thing. It's massively affected, and it changes the way the melatonin is released, and we don't sleep properly. Other things affect our sleep as well, but we've got to be trying to make sure we're maximizing that opportunity for melatonin to work effectively. Now, our wake hormone, serotonin, works in partnership with melatonin. It's responsible for stimulating parts of the brain that control that awakeness. So it really does depend on which serotonin receptors used on how awake we feel. If you feel sluggish in the morning, step outside, get some sunshine. Yeah, it's a big problem if we are not getting enough sun. Say you live in the UK, where I grew up, or we don't go outside enough, like in Australia, because we fear we're going to get sunburnt. So each is a bad thing. If we're working from home a lot, we may not have that sunshine as well. So we want to be managing that. It's effective with natural light as well. Doesn't mean we have to go outside and fry ourselves. But we want to make sure that the serotonin is there to wake us up, and it's an optimal level to keep us awake during the day, not peaking at night time. So there's ways we can manage that as well. Fat loss hormones. Now leptin, this is made in the adipose tissue, which is the fat storage cells in your body. Its main role is to regulate fat storage and how many calories you eat and burn. So what it does is it tells your brain that you are full. You do not need to eat any more food, only if it's working optimally. So you can actually get something called leptin resistance. What causes it? Things like inflammation. So inflammation of the hypothalamus, which is in the brain, which can cause miscommunication to these leptin signals. So you don't know when you're full, and it tempts you to eat more fatty, highly processed foods, that sort of thing. Free fatty acids, if there's a large amount of these fatty acids in the bloodstream, this can interfere with leptin. So if we're eating poorly, not optimizing our nutrition. Also, if we've got high leptin levels already, the body develops this resistance. It's the same with a lot of other hormones. If there's too much in the system, the body goes, I'll become resistant to it. There's too much of it. It's like if you drink too much coffee, you've got to drink more for that caffeine effect to happen. Also, if your cortisol is too high, your stress hormone, your brain is less receptive to leptin. So there's a lot of interaction with these hormones as well. So we need to be managing optimally all of them as once. Now, leptin works in partnership with ghrelin. Now, ghrelin can be seen as a fat gain hormone. It's not really, because we like them both in the system, but they've got to be working together, and we can't have one too high or we're resistant to another. It's produced in the gut, ghrelin, and it's often termed this hunger hormone. Travels through the bloodstream to your brain, tells your brain to become hungry and seek out foods. Problem is, again, if levels increase during diet, this can intensify, which they can often do, especially if we're our nutrition levels or calorific intake is reduced. It intensifies that hunger, so it doesn't help us. It makes us think, yes, we're hungry. We should eat. Even when really we've been fine and we've taken in the adequate amount of calories that we've calculated to be effective. So we've got to be careful that we're managing that effectively as well. Otherwise, it's very, very hard to manage that fat loss. Insulin, this is produced in the pancreas. It regulates our carbohydrates, our sugars, and the metabolism of fat. So it stimulates glucose uptake from the blood into tissues, the muscles, liver, and fat. So this process happens every day. So it turns those sugars, those carbs, into energy for us. Beautiful, perfect, natural. What we want to make sure is that this is working optimally. If we tend to have poor quality foods, highly processed foods, or foods that are spiking our blood glucose levels rapidly, the insulin is secreted more rapidly into the bloodstream. If this is too high for too long, we get insulin resistance, which over time can lead to diabetes, type 2 diabetes, not a good position to be in. So we need to be able to manage that position optimally with, I'll tell you shortly, things like food management, exercise, to avoid a situation where we're getting into that insulin resistance. Okay, so enough of what the major hormones are and what they do. What's a natural way to manage our hormones? First up, eat lots of protein. Protein is your friend. Eating adequate amounts per day is extremely important. It provides you with essential amino acids that your body needs, and it can't make on its own. These have to be consumed through the protein to maintain muscles, bones, skin health. And protein is a nice option because we know the thermic effect of protein, by the amount of calories it burns, is twice as many as fat. So we're going to burn more energy the more protein we have. Plus, it makes us feel fuller for longer, so we're less likely to eat badly, and regulates that insulin level as well. Number two, guess what? Engage in regular exercise, which on the program you've been doing. Physical activity strongly influences hormonal health. One of the big benefits is it reduces insulin levels and increases insulin sensitivity, which means you don't have to have as much insulin in the system for it to be effective. So we're avoiding that insulin resistance. Very good, very good. So yeah, we just need to be mindful of that as well. Now, what else do we do? Avoiding sugar and refined carbs, processed foods. These are linked to a number of health issues. Minimizing these really helps optimize the hormonal function, avoids obesity, diabetes, diseases. Studies have consistently shown that things like fructose are very heavily processed, not typically not the nice natural stuff you find in a piece of fruit, but the heavily processed stuff that is added to foods. This increases insulin and insulin resistance, especially if you're already overweight or obese. Fourth point, learn to manage your stress. Go back to my stress management mentoring video. I talk about how stress can wreak havoc on your hormones. Two main hormones, the cortisol and the adrenaline, which we need them because our stress hormone helps us to manage stress over a longer time. Problem is, if it's too high, we get ourselves into fat storage. So we really want to try and bring that stress level down. Plus, of course, the more stressed we are, the less sleep we get. Vicious cycle, yeah. And the less sleep we get, we start then getting things like leptin resistance, ghrelin resistance, and we're all over the shop. Manage your stress. Easier said than done. Have a look at some of the tips. Gradually start trying to ease it down. Healthy fats. Yes, consume healthy fats. I'm telling you to eat fat. Do not worry, fat doesn't make you fat. Fat is part of our natural system. There's fat in every cell in our body. It's because we eat the wrong types of fat, the man-made fats, the trans fats, heavily processed fats. Healthy fats are good. Fats high in medium chain triglycerides. They're taken up by the liver and they're used as energy. Hooray. And they also help to reduce insulin resistance. So healthy fats are very important. Things like coconut oil, MCT oil, anything that's natural fat. What else? Sounds obvious. Avoid overeating and undereating. This again changes our hormonal situation, leads to weight problems. Insulin levels are all over the place, more so in the overweight and the obese. And also it constricts the functionality of a lot of the organs. So we get subvisceral fat, which sticks around the organs, limiting the function, meaning we're less likely to be able to manage those hormone levels as well. Here we go. Here's a study. Insulin resistant obese adults who ate a 1,300 calorie meal experienced nearly twice the increase in insulin as lean people and metabolically healthy people who consumed the identical meal. So the more obese we get, the bigger the problems become. So we need to manage that position in the first place. Here's a nice one. Drink green tea. Nice and simple. Keeps us hydrated. We know the benefits of hydration. Lots of beneficial antioxidants in green tea as well. Boosts your metabolism. Lots of benefits as well, and has been known to reduce insulin sensitivity as well. Eat fatty fish. Again, we're talking about fish, fat. Fat is good in the form of omega-3 fatty acids. Fatty fish, things like salmon, mackerel, trout, these all have these omega-3 fatty acids, which are very good at reducing your inflammation, benefits on hormone management, including resting levels of cortisol and adrenaline reduction as well. Small study, I'll send you the links to these, observed the effects of consuming omega-3 fats on performance on a mental stress test. The study found that individuals consuming a diet rich in omega-3 fats for 3 weeks experienced significantly smaller increases in cortisol during the test than following their regular diet. So it's a nice opportunity to develop, improve, and manage those hormones. Okay, last, high quality sleep. Doesn't matter how nutritious your diet is, how much exercise you get, your health will suffer if you don't get sleep. Poor sleep, we know it's been causes imbalance in your insulin, your cortisol, your leptin, your ghrelin, your growth hormone. So get some sleep. It's literally the best thing you can do. Here's a study. People who slept with them restricted to 5 hours per night for a week just 1 week, their insulin sensitivity decreased by 20% on average. Shocker. Another study, here we go, effects of sleep restriction. It's studied on healthy individuals. When their sleep was restricted for 2 days, their leptin declined by 18%, their ghrelin increased by 28%, and their hunger increased by 24%. And they craved high calorie, high carb foods. Get some sleep, make it a priority. And that may have to stem from stress management as well, yeah? So look at the causes, look at the effects, check out the videos, and let's get that sorted. Easy on the sugary beverages. It's wasted calories anyway, but also these sugar sweetened beverages, they contribute to insulin resistance, particularly if you're already in an obese situation. One study, overweight people consume 25% of their calories in the form of high fructose beverages. You know, those fizzy, delicious canned beverages. They experienced higher blood insulin levels and a reduction in insulin sensitivity and an increase in belly fat storage. These things are not good. That's probably the only one thing I would definitely say, do not drink, do not consume any of, yeah? Ease it down, get some fizzy water in you. Here we go, consume a high fiber diet. Fiber, especially soluble fiber, is very important in your diet. It increases your insulin sensitivity, fills you up, improves your stomach, bowel health, helps you feel full. So you're less likely to eat, your appetite is suppressed, and it's a very nice option. So increase your fiber. Green vegetables, they're your friend. Let's get into those. Okay, and what do we like? Eat more eggs. Here's a nice random one. I love an egg, yeah. Probably one of the most nutritious foods on the planet. Natural source of protein as well, and it's one of the types of protein that's most readily absorbed by your body. So go easy on your protein shakes, which are processed and half digested for you. There's possibly a place for them. Don't replace your meals with them. Have natural food sources, natural protein sources. There's a study, here we go, more evidence on this, where people had lower ghrelin and insulin levels after eating eggs for breakfast versus eating something like a processed bagel or some cereal. So choose wisely with your foodstuffs. Okay, so there's some options for you. We know hormones can play a very vital part in our health, fitness, nutrition. Now, particularly if we're struggling with our weight loss or muscle gain. Nutrition is fine, exercise is good. Have a look at this. Are we getting enough sleep? Are we managing our stress levels? Any queries, reach out for me. Go back to the videos in relation to this and enjoy the rest of your day. See you soon. Bye.